5 years ago, our congregation went through an exercise, setting down what we thought our mission was and setting goals to achieve it. 5 years ago, Helen Clark was still Prime Minister. Dick Hubbard was Auckland's mayor. There was no super city or talk of it. George Bush was still torturing people. Having a black U.S. president was still a pipe dream. Christchurch Cathedral was still standing. Unprecedented greed had not yet melted down the world's economy, making the 99% poorer and the 1% richer. Steve Jobs was just beginning to talk about something called an iPhone. Facebook was in its infancy. It had been around for about a year. Tweeting would not enter the lexicon for another year. And 5 years ago, I didn't know I'd be preaching this sermon from something called an iPad. In today's world, 5 years is a long, long time. During those same 5 years, St. Matthew's has gone through many changes as well. From where you sit in your pew, you can see many of them. The new organ, the kitchen, the reincarnation of St. Thomas Chapel are the most obvious ones. But as grand as those changes are, there has been a more important change. You look around, there are many faces that weren't here 5 years ago. And those who were have experienced billboards that went viral, the trauma of Glenn's illness, Gino's rejection by the church because of who he is, and our reaction to that injustice, the many challenges of putting in a new pipe organ, and on a happier note, the parish celebration of Lynette and my wedding, to mention just a few. We are a different community than we were then. A little bit younger, more diverse, and hopefully wiser. Individually, we have changed as well. We've experienced births, deaths, illnesses, new or lost jobs, broken relationships, or new ones. And of course, there have been the disappointments, failures, and on occasion, an unforeseen success. In other words, none of us sat still and unchanged since last we reflected on where we were as a congregation. So today is officially declared a day of reflection at St. Matthew's. It is the first step that the vestry asks us to take in setting a new and intentional vision for St. Matthew's that will guide us and our actions and priorities for the next 5 years. During the notices, we will explain the process. So all I will say now is that I hope as many of you as possible will stay for it. Each of you is essential. Whether this is your first Sunday in these pews or you've been sitting there for years. Anyone absent will diminish the vision of what we are capable. Instead, I want to do what you pay me for, offer some theological reflection, albeit briefly, on why we are here in the first place and why it matters to do what we are going to do this morning. I want to begin with Alfred North Whitehead, a mathematician and theologian. He argued that we cannot account for the creative process without an understanding of the role of the divine. His central insight is that everything becomes whatever it becomes by virtue of how it relates to everything else. Whether you are a Higgs-boson subatomic particle, a person, or even God, your identity over time develops through a process of relating to everything else. Whitehead spent a lot of time observing nature. His conclusion was that the mystery at the base of all that is not arbitrary. Our experience of that mystery through our relationships with everything else gives us the confidence to know the final worth of our existence. We matter. So why does that matter? It matters because we have chosen to be part of a religion. The purpose of any religion is to seek a comprehensive understanding of the good. There is no aspect of life that religion's vision of the good doesn't include. When bad things happen in any aspect of our life, including religion, we have become detached from a comprehensive vision of the good. When we look around the world, we can see that there is plenty of detachment. The war on the poor, the support of the military-industrial complex, denial of human rights to segments of our society, global climate change are just the more glaring examples. As we reflect on our experience as a community, I hope we will ask, does our faith include a comprehensive view of the good? Do we demonstrate confidence in the ultimate worth of all existence? And then, how do we even know what is good? One way we do is through our worship, which is at the core of who we are. Worship is a discipline of opening our hearts to people we don't fully know, our minds to ideas we don't fully comprehend, and our souls to a divine presence we cannot fully name. Worship reminds us of the ignorance that infuses everything we know, and the mystery that lies beyond our reach. We worship to awaken our sense of the sacred and to transform ourselves and our world. We want our lives to be different, and we want our world to be different. Worship prepares the community for the task of transformation by drawing us towards a comprehensive understanding of the good. To determine the good we seek requires an inclusive community that acknowledges that we all emerge from the same source and share the same destiny, that celebrates and gives thanks for what we hold in common and honors the ways in which we differ. For we know the former unites us, and the latter frees us as individuals. The first forges shared commitments, and the second nurtures the individual responsibility required for bringing them to fruition. Is a comprehensive vision of how we wish to be transformed enough? No. Once identified, we all need to move toward it. Not just some of us, but all of us. No gift we offer is too small. No person is not important enough. Without you, it all comes apart. In 1961, John F. Kennedy challenged Americans to put a man on the moon by the end of that decade. Later, he visited NASA. While touring the facilities, the president stopped a janitor in the hallway and asked him what he did at NASA. The janitor replied, "Mr. President, I am working on putting a man on the moon." Let us begin. The world is waiting.